Welcome back, YouTube, to King's Court. I'm Shrine King, and this is a Scum First Impressions. Now, to kick this off, I got to do things a little bit different here. What I'm going into here is I want to first discuss like what is the aspects of Scum and what is the aspects of my first impressions. So, please, first and foremost, bear in mind these are my personal first impressions. I am walking into this as not some geeky nerd trying to criticize games like overly. I am just looking at it as a friendly gamer that just enjoys playing video games. Is this something like that made me feel good or made me feel bad, and like what were the particulars that did so, just as I'm hopping into this without major background to the game. Now, for those that don't know, Scum is a game that is in alpha, early access, I believe alpha, by the way. I do know it's in early access. It could very well be beta. It kind of depends on how they're trying to determine. But it is a survivalistic game where you are as a convict, and they basically put a bunch of convicts on an island and are recording what's going on for entertainment for the overall population that are not convicts. Now, a little bit of a disclaimer and a warning. If you are offended by particular language, I do advise away from this video. At certain points during this video, you will hear some bad language. So please, I do apologize for that. It was recording of individuals that were not. Was not me. It was individuals that were in the game that I cannot necessarily control their language. So, without further ado, though, this is Scum. It just recently came out, and it's going to have a lot of interesting aspects to it as I started to get into this game. So, you actually start out just with convict clothes, and you have nothing really on. You only have basically 3 pockets. So, you'll see at this point I've already gotten a jacket, and I've kind of gotten a little bit into it. So, what made, like, right out the door when starting to play this game, what made it very interesting to me is you'll see here, I'm like, oh, I have cornflakes, and I know that, you know, my character has to eat, and you actually start out hungry. Like, your character starts telling you, hey, I'm hungry. So I'm like, hey, you know what, I found cornflakes. I need to eat cornflakes. So I'm just, you know, chowing away on these cornflakes. Now, there's actually an option of eat or eat all, and I'm like, well, you know, you probably want to eat all. And you'll notice it's taking a while to try to eat it, but if you think about it, if you tried eating a whole box of cornflakes in one go, it might not work out. So here you'll see the overall amount of carbs that I was trying to take in. It makes me vomit. So, and now, please bear in mind, I've only played this for maybe 6 hours in total. The video recordings that you see here were actually taken out of a 6-hour string, and of course I didn't think a video of 6 hour in length would be something that people really want to watch. So I did cut out a lot of material, so I kind of just gave some background material that's kind of giving a focus. So one thing I'm noticing here for the realism of the game is, like, I'm actually running, and you'll see my guy's getting tired. His stamina does drop, and you'll see he's even showing that he's tired. Heaving, trying to gasp for air. If I kept going, you'd actually start to hear your own heartbeat going in your ear. Letting you know that your heart is actually taking on too much stress and that you need to actually slow down. Which all is, it's very, what do you call it? It really builds the, you know, the in-depth to the game and the feeling of the game where you're becoming immersed. And it's really awesome. So you'll see here, as you find things like different clothing materials, some of them have different pockets, and then you'll see here, like, I'm going into this kind of weird, like, sensory thing. You'll notice the sounds are even different. So that's actually when I'm trying to be perceptive. So I thought I heard something, so I was trying to be perceptive. So I wanted to show this. This is the map, and you'll see in the very bottom left corner there, that blue arrow, that's me. And what I can tell you is to go from one edge of a square to another edge of the square, it takes about 20 to 30 minutes of running. So this game is not small. The area is not small by any means, and there's all sorts of places to go. Now I did slow things down here, so it does seem to sound very weird as I'm actually doing things, but I wanted to be able to talk about another part in this game. They made so much details to this. So you'll see it's showing my heart rate, it's showing all the information of like what's my walk speed, weight load, what's my strength and con, can I box, I'm good with rifles. But then on the right side you'll notice it has all these details about food and diet restrictions and things like that. So how many calories have you burned, how many calories have you taken in, what kind of percentage are you standing at for like overall values and things of like carbs, protein, what are the overall target values, what is the vitamin counts that you're at, what are your mineral counts, and you'll see like the digestion monitor report. There's a digestion process to this. You can't just eat something and be like, boom, I'm no longer hungry, it gave me 50 food points. It takes time. It's got to go through your esophagus, down into your intestines, then into your stomach, and then back through other intestines to eventually over to your colon. And you'll notice they even have colon and bladder, so just heads up for those that maybe don't not necessarily want to see bowel movements. Bowel movements are in the game. It actually is required. In some cases it will force you to. You won't have a choice. So for those who are kind of like starting out, bear that in mind. That's what all that data is. So yeah, it's funny too. I didn't realize it was going to make this sound so weird in the background. So bear in mind that robotic sound is actually from me extending these clips out so that I can actually talk a little better about it. So and I wanted to make sure to go through a lot of this because this is the stuff to me, for first impression, honestly. Well, now that I got like a little more time in depth, and it did take some time, it was very confusing. I felt very lost with it. So I wanted to make sure that I can cover some of this to help you guys out. So as you eat and things like that, it's going to show you your stomach volume. If your stomach volume gets too full, that's actually when you'll start to actually vomit, right? And bear in mind that if your volume is close to full, it also means that if you're trying to hard press exercise, that will also take effect. When you look up at your BCU nutrition monitor at the very top, when you see the calories, which has got the apple, and then you see the calorie side that's got the like fire, that is how much you're burning. So how much activity you're doing in comparison to how much you took in. For your body to sustain, you have to basically be within a very particular percentage of burning into intake. Now, if you're burning a little more than your intake, then that actually puts you in a fat burn mode, and that's okay. And then actually you can still sustain that way. But if you ever get to a point where you're burning a lot more, your body can't sustain, which then means your energy is going to start to drop. Now, other things to note is from the other side of it, where you see like the heart rate monitor, and then we talk about strength, con, dex, and intelligence. Those are those skills that you actually, when you start the game, you have to pick out like what kind of skill levels you want to be at. What do you want to actually be very skilled in? So what I want to note to you is like rifles is definitely a very big thing in the game. A lot of people are using rifles. They do a lot of the heavier damage. So you have to have strength for that. One thing to note is if you want to be able to craft ammo, you have to be at least like skill level 2 in that particular category. So at rifles it goes like basics, and then I think it's like skilled, and then like pro or something. I don't remember the actual terms for it, but you want to go to that level 2 marker if you want to be able to craft the ammo. So that's one thing to note for handguns. If you want to be able to do like 9mm ammunition, you have to be able to have handguns up to that second level as well. Everything else is kind of very self-explanatory when you actually look through it. It's just, it is a lot of information, so I do recommend that you take the time for that. Now, continuing on more into the game, so you'll see, like as I mentioned, when I started to burn more than I actually took in, my energy started dropping. And one of the things I wanted to point out here is just the lighting in the game. So you'll notice it's night, and I do apologize for showing nighttime videos. Normally I would actually try to focus on daytime. The server actually started me in the night, and then I wanted to kind of like focus on particular parts, which this was more towards the lighting itself. So as you notice, even at night, like the actual spotlights and things like that, or street lights, like as I got closer, it actually did look really good, where you can actually see the light come down. So lighting is really impressive. The graphics overall are pretty impressive. I mean, when you get into these areas, like you see the rooms and stuff like that, that part's not necessarily impressive, but that's kind of hard in a lot of games to be very impressive. And again, this game is in alpha, so there's a lot of changes that they're probably going to do, of filtering. You know, you'll see like there's the mirrors and stuff like that. So a lot of that, I'm sure in time will get better. Now, I did hear somebody, and this is one of the better parts. This is a game to me. Like, I honestly thought everyone was going to be mean in this game, and it turns out they're really not. And funny enough, here I ran into this guy. He's trying to talk to me. He's like, I don't want. I wasn't even trying to fight him. I was trying to find the button to talk. And when I hit one of the random buttons, it actually put me into fight mode. So he thought I was getting ready to fight. And it happened to be that I was actually recently talking to someone on my cell phone, and I have a particular headset that allows me to have Bluetooth connected. And if I had Bluetooth connected, apparently it automatically registered that I had Bluetooth connected and that this game had built-in comms, so it actually turned my mic off to the game. It was a feature I did not know that existed on my headset, but that was interesting. I actually had to turn off my Bluetooth to do that. That's what you're seeing here. Is I'm trying to figure out, hey, what happened? Like, I could have sworn it was this button. I could have sworn this was still enabled, and I'm checking so I can be able to talk. Now, another thing to know is in this recording, will be strange, and please, do accept my apologies for it. But my GeForce streaming and recording stuff, I actually have it where it's not allowing my mic to record because I usually record over all of my videos. But in the event that the recordings, or like let's say the speech or voice communications are actually coming from in the game, then it actually blocks out, or it can't block out the game side. It only blocks out the rest of it. So you'll see the green mark with the mic to show that I am talking, but you won't hear any of what I'm actually saying because my mic while recording is turned off from the GeForce experience.
Yeah, that's kind of fun.
So, and I'm going to bear that in mind in future. So, let me know what you guys think about that. If you'd rather, be able to hear what I'm saying, so that you can hear what they're responding with, or if just hearing what they respond with is good enough. So like here, we're looking for water, and this was kind of a thing, like for my own first impression, like I generally have a good sense of direction, but I honestly got turned around, and that's more of a detail matter of the environment is very, how do I put it? Like, I guess very similar in layout throughout certain segments. So when they build these things, typically they're like modular in design. They do try to reuse things to try to make it easier for the workload. But one thing that happens as a player, or as a person, right, is it can make it where you get turned around a little bit and kind of lost, because everything is starting to look very similar in comparison to what you just saw. So I think that's a challenge point for the devs, is if they can actually try to make these things a lot more unique, maybe unique coloring, different items or materials around the area that give it a different sense of, like for this one, I had to remember, I think it was by the church, and it turns out, yes, it was. So, and this is the nice part. It's like, so again, we're like being friendly, and he's got goals for like water, and here you'll see, like, we were actually looking for food. And I could, like, one thing I will say is, like, once you kind of have like a something you're getting ready to throw, you can't actually stop it from throwing. So we're actually trying to find food, and we couldn't really find any food to start with. So, but then he mentioned that actually you can get food off of zombies, which I hadn't seen a zombie yet. So here I find him, he's actually fighting a zombie, and I'm like, alright, and you'll notice, like, when you're doing this, you have to hold the button, and you'll notice it actually shows you, like, where it's going to throw to. So now I was actually able to throw there, but you'll see it didn't seem to stick on him, so I don't know if it didn't count as a hit. But the other thing is, if you just tap the button, right, you actually swing it, and you'll notice my endurance is still being used. So there's a lot of realism to this game. I can't, like, honestly, my first impressions is great. I love the realism level of this. I love but to the same sense, you'll see here, I threw something at it, and it just made that body fly. That kind of ruined some of the sense of realism and that immersion. But there's so much more to this that just builds on that immersion. It makes this game, honestly, it's a lot of fun. Like, I can't really express just how lost I got into this game. So you'll see here we're looking to get food. We're talking about trying to get a fire. You know, bear in mind, like, you know, making a fire, you think this would be like easy things, but they have so many details to this that it took forever. So you'll see here we had to chop up the meat. Then we had to get to like chop down a tree, which he had an axe so that we could actually chop down this tree. You'll see all these tree parts everywhere. Now again, this is alpha, so yeah, the layout where it, you know, it couldn't apparently lay some of those logs in the proper spacing, that got kind of weird, but you know, hey, it's alpha. They got way to go. Now, hey, you know, we got a campfire. We built this part, but we can't seem to light the fire. You'll see. I have a lighter selected. I have the campfire, and I'm over here picking it, and it's just nope, nope, nope. Now, what's funny is you'll see I have the inventory menu up and stuff like that, so I can't see. And I'm still trying it. Now it's actually telling me messages, but it's behind the panel, so I can't actually see it. I have to be out of the crafting thing to see the messages. And it just keeps telling me that it's failing, but it's not really saying why it's failing. So if you get started up on this, I just want to note, guys and gals, that, you know, building a fire, it's not so easy. It can take some time. It can be a little frustrating. So here's me testing a candle, right? So I took the lighter and the candle, and they're like, oh, look, it actually lit it. Right, so that's a good step. And I'm like, all right, well, now I can take the candle that's lit, right, and I should be able to light the fire. No, you can't. It won't let you. So these are things that's like, it's like, all right, you really got to challenge yourself to figure out how to go about some of these things. So if you're getting started into this, or you're very curious, I do recommend it. It is a lot of fun, and I recommend it for a lot of different reasons, and I'll get into a lot more of that as well. But as an advisory, just bear in mind some things it might not work as you initially intended. See here, it was a big victory getting a fire going. I am not lying. It took us like 45 minutes to get this fire going, just to try to get some food where we would cook it. So other things to note is, as you cook the food, right, there's different ways to cook it, for like skewers and, you know, getting long wood sticks for it, and that alone can take some extra time. So it did take us like another half hour to figure out how to cook the food. But once you get it all down, yeah, it's not that bad. But it did make for very interesting experiences, and that's one of the things that I'm really enjoying on this game as my own first impressions. Now, mind you, I have not played H1Z1, you know, in its fullest. I have not played, I think it's DayZ. Yeah, there's numerous games that are like this kind of survival. I've never actually gotten to really play those games. Except for like PUBG is the only one I think in relation, but that's still not to the same degree of what this is, or what those other ones that I claimed out there. So this is my first experience to it. You know, like, I thought it was kind of interesting. One, you kind of build this, you build partnership with people that you meet. It's actually more of like a social aspect to it as well, which made it very nice for me. That kind of experience was really cool, because you get into this game, and it's just like the experience just becomes its own story, your own life, basically. So here I've seen this robot before, and he's basically just giving fame because we're cool. But you'll see my buddy here is over here throwing a knife at it. If you can actually hear the impact of the knife, which I was like, that was pretty cool. I'm glad that they actually had that in there. And again, you saw the lighting's really good. The sound is pretty interesting. Now, we did notice that, you know, for people talking, because they had it where it can go out and, you know, I mean, like, here's an experience to talk about, like making a buddy and having a campfire, telling stories, and then having like campfire songs. Yeah, you're not going to get that in a lot of other games. You surely not going to get it in very competitive games, such as like Call of Duty or like Escape from Tarkov and things like that. So this level of immersion and becoming something similar to like almost a life in it, it's a lot of fun.
I don't know. I like started on
So
Day, and then I guess it just
another thing with this is like the javelins or the sticks. You saw kind of earlier when I was showing the trajectory. So I want to show like the actual strength of it. So you'll see here I'm actually aiming it, and you'll see you can actually throw it pretty far, and you'll notice. I nailed this guy right through the neck, and my buddy was pretty excited because, you know, that's a pretty long throw.
Olympic level.
So, and again, I do, like, anyone who's maybe offended, I do apologize. Please let me know if it bothers anybody, and I will do my best to figure out a way to like bleep it out. But yeah, you can chop up the humans, right? And this all led to many different experiences for the overall immersion, right? So like just having to basically figure out the trajectory. And so here's another case with actually the javelin as well, because now we actually found a deer, one that's where we do want to hunt it. So here you'll see like this is a very long throw, and you'll see like for the game it gets to a point where it's like I actually have to kind of guess. Now the fact that I had to kind of guess. This is cool because I actually like the fact that it's to a point where I have to really use my skill and best guess to try to figure this out. And it actually turns out I did hit the deer. So that guess was actually really good, and I actually I hit it. Yeah, I hit it, but I forgot that you can actually track your targets. So now the part where you saw like everything kind of zoomed in a bit and the sound changed, that's part of it. That's your perception. It's actually like a survival skill with tracking. So if you actually were to do that in the general area, you would actually start to see and actually you'll see little tracks and things like that, or blood, for example, that help you track down your prey that you're hunting. And now I'm stuck where I have to try to figure out where my sticks went, and then if I can actually make more, because it's the only weapons that I actually had. But yeah, I mean, this game, I really have to say I'm thoroughly impressed. Like I said, it is alpha, and the amount of details that they have into it is just incredible. So it's just now. If you have by chance played another game that I'm aware of, it's called Neo Scavenger. It is not a three-dimensional game like this. It's a two-dimensional. It's very old school style. It actually has a lot of the same or similar mechanics. So the idea of like different clothing that you're wearing and things like that have so much pocket space. And then on top of that, like everything that you're trying to craft, it really takes into account like all the particulars that you have to be able to craft certain things, like a cutting tool, soft cloth material, paper materials, so on and so forth. Now, in this, obviously because there, so here you can actually see the tracks. So it's showing, oh hey, there's that deer.
Oh, what?
Now that one, I was kind of sad on that part. So if you actually do hunt, and you'll see the red one is actually the blood, but if you do hunt, the deer, their heart is actually in the side right from like next to their front leg.
This game is pretty cool, actually.
So this is my buddy. I was explaining to him the tracking thing where you can actually figure that out. So that's where I was showing that. Now this throw, this one I totally get, because I actually hit it in the rear, which would not be a kill shot. But that heart one should have been a kill shot, and because it goes all the way through, this deer should not have been able to run as far as it is. So that's one thing to kind of know. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that if you actually got a headshot on it, it would just instantly kill it. I think that's the game mechanic right now. It's just the headshots. So in this event, I did hit it in its heart, but apparently it doesn't count for taking it down quickly. So right now it's just bleeding out off of damage. And I realized that we can chase it and keep chasing it, and it'll just eventually die. But so I told my buddy here, hey, let's let it go for right now. It'll actually stop running away, and then eventually it should just bleed out. And we were kind of talking about checking out this gas station anyway. So you'll notice that you have your health, the stamina, the energy, and then hydration. Now, while you see those are kind of like your quick indicators of a problem. But bear in mind, when you see those start to decline and things, those are big problems once you hit that point, because this game's all about timing. It really is. So, and the idea is, like, if you think about it, in the event I was hungry, I can eat, but I don't really I might sate my hunger, but I still suffer the effects of being hungry for a certain amount of time.
What?
And this game is all around that. Like, everything takes time. It takes time for you to digest. It takes time for wounds to heal. It takes time for your energy to recover, for you to feel better, stuff like that. So you see here, we actually got the deer. And I'm able, so like that's the one I'm like, yeah, I totally did nail the deer twice.
Nope. How do I cancel?
Oh, and by the way, so like he just asked, like, how do you cancel it? If you were in the middle of something, you just hit escape. There apparently was a way, like, you might be able to do tab and use your arrow to go over it, but honestly, just you hit the escape key and it'll stop it. Now, here, now originally, like I showed you, like we had the food stuff where, you know, just doing a campfire and food took a while.
Basically,
Now,
like, oh wait,
to build a backpack, I got lucky. I found a needle pretty early on. And you'll see it shows like scissors, and this is one of the things I wanted to talk about. So you'll see for the components, there are multiple things that are showing here. There's like a gear symbol in the bottom of each component part, but then there's also like a hammer part. And then you'll see that there's a time or X by something, some number at the upper right corner. So the gear part is just saying that these are the parts that's required to build it, whereas the hammer is saying that that's a tool that's required to build it. Then the X is saying how many do you have to have. And one thing to note is as you're going through it, it'll actually show like little arrows. Those little arrows are actually telling you that you can hit over for different material items. So different components. So different items. So like for example, if I were to click over on the rope one, it would have shown me different types of rope that I could use. I think it even says like you get rope, wire, things like that. So and again, like making the bag takes a while, so I'm not even gonna go into that. But this brought me into another thing that like kind of built on the realism. So like, you know, here's alcohol, and I'm like, well, you know, okay, yeah, you know, some games it's like you gotta drink a lot of alcohol, right, and then you're drunk. So this one, I have a bottle of tequila, and I should have thought about it again, like kind of like the cornflakes, right? If you guys remember, I was like, hey, let me go ahead and drink all. I'm like, I gotta get rid of this bottle, and I might as well use it for hydration, which, by the way, it probably did not help my hydration. I didn't think about that either, because again, like I said, this game's really all about the realism. So you'll see I just drank all of that. Now, one of the things I wanted to talk about here is, you know, the effects of alcohol and being drunk, or, you know, yeah, being drunk. There are different phases of drunkenness in this game, so it can get a lot worse. But you'll notice, like, hey, I just drank what looks like maybe, you know, 30 or 40 ounces of tequila. Anybody would probably get pretty drunk pretty quick. Now, in real life, when we say pretty quick, it's not like, hey, oh, I just finished this bottle. Woo! I'm so hammered. No, anyone who's actually gone through the experience knows it takes time. Now, it's not a lot of time, but it does take time. And that's one of the reasons why I let this portion of the video go. So you'll see, hey, I'm walking around, everything's cool, no big deal. And it does take some time, but it is going to take effect. So, by the way, you'll saw that magnifying glass. You'll see here we're actually in a police station. We're finding stuff such as, like, and this is a nice place to find weapons too. So if you are looking for weapons, look for the police station. They typically do have decent weapons. One thing I wanted to note about the magnifying glass is that means during daylight, I can use tinder and the magnifying glass as a source of ignition for like campfires and stuff like that, to replace like lighters or anything like that. So it's just some, you know, information to bear in mind. So now, just to give you a heads up, or I guess to kind of reference back, it's actually been about 2 minutes now in the game after I drank my full bottle of tequila, and you'll see I'm still doing good. I'm still going through, no big deal. And some of this stuff though, like it was funny. I didn't realize certain things until I actually was going through my editing tool, and I'm like basically rewatching my recordings to figure out key points to help explain or talk about certain things. And I actually started noticing little things here, because like when you're in the game and you're going through this and you're kind of like looking and running around and stuff, I didn't notice. But once I actually was watching my replay, I did start to notice. So you'll see here, like I've been going through, no big deal, and you'll see like I'm pretty fast about it, so it makes sense that I probably wouldn't notice it all right away. And I was just trying to like look, and so bear in mind, like as you're going through, it is worth like looking on the ground and stuff because sometimes there is stuff like on the ground. Now you see here, I ran into an issue where I was going to go down and hey, drop my axe. Right? I'm like, well, wait a minute, I don't want to drop my axe. And I'm like, I got a problem. I need the space. So now I got to try to resolve my issue here. So, and like I just started seeing, like, it looks kind of weird. The graphics are starting to look kind of weird a bit. And now here's where it really started hitting me as I was watching this replay. Now, if you watch my character, you're going to see he starts to swagger a little bit. He's actually like, leaning a little left, leaning a little right, coming back a little left, going back a little right. And it's kind of funny because, it almost looks like he's under the influence, right? And I'm like, wait a minute, what the heck is going on? Look, I see multiple, what? I see like this weird sheen, multiple building? I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm like, well, you know what, guys? It's alpha, right? It's alpha. I mean, it's got to be it. The graphics have to be glitching out or something. I must have triggered something. Maybe when I set my axe down or I was trying to climb down there, it had to have like freaked it out, and now I'm stuck with these like weird graphical glitches. And I'm like, well, it's not horrible though. Like I could still see everything and do things. So I was gonna roll with it. So be advised, alcohol will take effect in the game. It does. It took about 4 minutes, right? One whole bottle took 4 minutes for it to really kick in, and this is what you're gonna see. This is phase 1, by the way, and there's probably way worse phases, and I don't know if I necessarily want to test that out yet, but if you're all more than welcome to. And I would like to hear what happens if you do. Now, bear in mind, I actually logged out and logged back in thinking this would fix it, and it didn't. And that's actually what I was like, how is there still a problem? What did it? And that's when I found out actually I was drunk. My guy is drunk right now. So again, builds in that immersion. It's very cool. And again, like meeting people. So here we just meet this random guy, and I'm actually asking if he's got like water or booze. And I asked if he has some drugs, but he has a pineapple. So we got together, and, just trying to like get closer to like wrapping this all up. I wanted to show some material for some of the, I guess, harder spots to go to. So like there are military bases, and they are protected by robots, and those robots are very, very dangerous. So my newfound friends, who were nice, they wanted to go check out this place, so we came out here, and you'll see I went from the one tower, and then so here's an advisory for those who are going to play. So the towers do tend to have some interesting things in it, usually like sniper rifles and things like that. And you'll notice, like, from this distance, I was a little concerned. I thought maybe, hey, this thing might see me, and I crouched down, and I'm like, all right, I should be good. It turns out, no, I'm not. He does see me. You'll see here he's firing. He's been firing at me. It took me a while to realize, oh, he's actually firing. Now, I want to point out, you see those bullet holes? Those bullet holes came through, and there's gleams of light. Now, why the gleams of light were there, that doesn't necessarily make a lot of realistic sense, at least in this scenario where it's raining. But I still like the touch that they did, the fact that they did that. The only thing that would make me even happier for that level, now, so here my buddies are actually trying to engage the machine to hopefully save me. Now, I was telling them, like, actually I'm good. As soon as I laid down, he couldn't see me. So for whatever reason, with me crouched, it actually could see like my helmet or something like that, and that's why it was popping shots at me. Now, some things to note, this game is very unforgiving right now when it comes to damage taken. Especially from rifle rounds, and basically these machines have large caliber rifles on them, and I mean, like, we're talking about probably like 50 caliber or higher. And I can tell you right now, even for 7.62s, which is like your correct 96 or AK-74s, or any sniper gun, they're gonna kill you. They're gonna kill you in like 1 or 2 shots, which makes it kind of rough. So to close, is this game really worth it? I absolutely think so. Is it a lot of fun? Oh, yes, it is. Now, bear in mind, though, there are dull moments while you're trying to run around and stuff like that, because there's only 64 people that can be in the server at one time. And the map is so large that, I mean, you might not see anyone for hours, to be honest. It's very possible, especially if people are hiding and so on and so forth. So, and then here's the part, like I mentioned, bowel movements and things like that. So it's actually saying my bladder is full, so I have to, drain the lizard. So here I am working on draining the lizard, and my buddies kind of move past a little bit. So, oh wait, what's that? Oh no! Oh no, my buddy disappeared. Wait, there's gunshots and my buddy disappeared. It actually turns out my buddy just died. He got killed by somebody that we couldn't really tell where he was. So you'll see here, I'm laying down, I got my gun and dropped my one gun, and I'm trying to see what's going on. But my other buddy, he's not coming back to me. He's still out there. I guess he's hiding under a bridge. And they're talking about a bridge, but as you can see, I don't see a bridge. So the lessons here for my buddy was that when standing around to take a piss, be ready to die. And it very well could end that way. So, because that's really what he was doing. We were both urinating at the time when he got shot. You'll see here my other buddy. Now, you'll notice that the gunshots, like to me, I can hear it's kind of off to the right, but that's about as far as it goes. And I did get like a weird delay. It seems like, because you'll see there, like I heard all the gunfire, and then only after a little while did my buddies die. So I don't know what really happened there. And you see, I'm trying to see this guy, but they have different mechanics on how this all works. So like in third person, I actually have to have direct line of sight on the guy to be able to even see him, and then even then it goes against his sneaking skill and my perception skill. So what was funny is I did actually catch a glimpse real quick when I was kind of like moving over, and I could have sworn I saw him, but then it's like I just couldn't seem to get any eyes on him to actually shoot him. So to kind of wrap this up, I just wanted to say that this game, honestly, I'm not kidding. I thought I only spent like maybe 2 hours, and I had actually been playing 6 hours. The fact that I was actually able to make 2 new friends, it was really awesome. The lighting is looking great. The graphics that they're working on is great. The mechanics to it are great. It's so in depth. There's so much to it. It's really an enjoyable experience. Now, is it fully complete? No. Is there a lot more that they're probably going to be bringing out to this? Absolutely. Can it take a lot longer than you might really want? Yes, I'm afraid that actually is true. So currently, because there's no cars or anything like that to really get you traveling around faster, like I said, each square is about 20 to 30 minute run, so it can take some elaborate time. But I'm looking forward to a lot of this. Oh, actually, there was a large delay in the recording here for some reason. That's very weird. But you'll see here you have options when you died. Like I can actually say, hey, I just want to do random sector, or at a shelter, or even on a squad mate. And the fact that they have that, I thought was really cool. And you'll see these fame points. That's from like your crafting, and that's from kills and things like that. And actually, as you pick up fame points, they actually will show you under the server. So if you actually hit tab, which brings you up like the normal crafting menu, and you hit over on the events, it'll actually tell you where you're placed right now in comparison to everyone else on the server. So definitely worth a buy. This company, I mean, honestly, for something that's just starting out, one of the things that I really love about what they did is, rather than saying, hey, we want to get early access into this really cool idea of a game, we want $100 for to get that early access. No, these guys went cheap. They're like, hey, look, $20 and you're in, right? So they're taking a different kind of business model, and I absolutely adore them for it. There are too many companies right now that are basically saying we can extort people without even having a finished product, because people will pay just to get in to help us develop a finished product. And it shouldn't be that way. Like, people should be able to save some money by helping developers develop towards this stuff, buy early access and things like that. It shouldn't be the other way around. So again, I hope this video gives you some good information for the game itself. Again, first impression, I think it's wonderful. Please like, subscribe, let me know what your thoughts are, and let me know if there's other games that are coming out that you're interested in seeing first impressions, or if you want a further and in-depth review. Alright, thanks again, and I'll catch you next time.